Hikari's path in Octopath Traveler 2 might seem, at first glance, like one of the more simple, straightforward, and uninteresting of the character's stories, but I would contend instead that Hikari's path is a richly woven exploration of a specific theme, and that many of its plot beats play directly into that theme. In this video, I want to explore Hikari's story, talk about its themes, and see how it plays out in the various chapters of Octopath Traveler 2. This video presupposes familiarity with the 5 chapters of Hikari's path, so there will be spoilers. Chapter 1 of Hikari's story introduces many of the characters who will become major players in his tale later on. Hikari himself, Ritsu, Mugen, Kazan, Raimei, Benkei, and King Jigo are all introduced in this chapter. More importantly, though, this chapter sets up the themes, both large and small, that will be repeated throughout the remainder of the chapters. Each of these themes is set up as a pair of opposing principles or ideologies that are mutually exclusive, philosophies that are in direct conflict and cannot be resolved. The first of these is Hikari's humanity versus Mugen's inhumanity, first demonstrated in Hikari's mercy to enemy soldiers and Mugen's ruthless execution of the enemy leader. Another theme presented in Chapter 1 is Hikari versus himself, or Hikari versus the darkness inside him. This is presented literally, with Hikari's dark self manifesting at first as a purple and black cloud around Hikari, and then later as an actual physical doppelganger. This bloodlust version of Hikari will appear at crucial points throughout the story, urging Hikari to slaughter his enemies. The final theme presented in Chapter 1 is perhaps the most important, most central duality in Hikari's path: friendship versus strength. This is shown clearly in Hikari and Mugen's separate answers to King Jigo's question. This theme is so crucial to Hikari's story because the theme restates and reframes the ancient conflict between power and morality, or might and right, which is at the center of Hikari's conflict with Mugen. In fact, this duality is so critical to Hikari's tale that without it, the story becomes entirely different. If Hikari's drive to reclaim the throne of Ku is not driven by a desire to avert bloodshed, to turn Ku away from its bloody path of world conquest, to point it down a path of peace and friendship, then the story becomes one of simple revenge and ambition, with Hikari seeking the throne out of lust for power. Furthermore, this dividing line between those who believe in friendship and those who believe in strength as guiding principles characterizes many of the individuals in Hikari's path. The 2 most notable examples of this are Ritsu and Raimei, which I will discuss shortly. Chapter 2 sees Hikari seek out the help of Kazan, the strategist. Kazan is willing to help, but he's deep in debt. He asks Hikari for a favor, and then shoves him into the underground gladiatorial arena. Here, then, we see all 3 themes repeated, and what's more, they're repeated in a combat arena, a literal manifestation of the idea that the 2 opposing sides of these themes are irreconcilable and must eventually come to blows. The theme of humanity versus inhumanity is shown in the actions of Kazan and the Arena Master. Kazan's ultimate scheme is to own the arena and free the gladiator slaves, while the Arena Master treats them as disposable goods to live and die at his pleasure. Once again, Hikari must face the darkness within him in the arena, quelling his bloodlust before he can slaughter his helpless opponents. And the theme of friendship versus strength is also shown from a different angle in this chapter, with Zato the Butcher and his gladiator brothers representing the side of friendship, and Bandalam the Reaper representing the side of strength. Crucially, when Zato and the gladiators have captured the arena overlords, they choose to listen to Hikari's pleas to show mercy, to choose humanity over inhumanity, to choose right over might. This act aligns them with Hikari's cause more than any other from a thematic standpoint. But what of Ritsu and Rai-Mei? These are two complex characters who, despite being former friends of Hikari, nonetheless find themselves on opposite sides of the conflict from him in chapters 3 and 4. But their attitudes and ideals, and how well those attitudes and ideals align them with the themes of Hikari's path, determine whether Ritsu and Rai-Mei have a chance at redemption. The more closely their ideals align with Hikari's ideal of friendship over strength, the greater their chances of redemption. Ritsu learned at a young age the lesson of might when his lowborn father was struck down for no reason at all by a coup soldier. Even Hikari's sympathy and vow to find those responsible fail to move Ritsu. He responds that justice won't bring his father back or stop this from happening again. Ritsu believes the power of strength is immovable, absolute, that the strong must always dominate the weak, that this is the way of things. At no point in his time following Hikari did Ritsu see anything that changed this perspective, that led him to value the path of friendship. And so, knowing that Mugen is stronger than Hikari, Ritsu follows Mugen after the coup. Ritsu's inability to understand what Hikari understands, that strength comes from friendship, means that he is unable to redeem himself right up until his death. Rai-Mei, on the other hand, at one time believed strongly in the path of peace, along with her brother Jinmei. Her alliance with Mugen is one of convenience, an attempt to protect Clan Mei. But at one time, both Rai-Mei and Jinmei clung to the ideal of a world of peace, a world without bloodshed, a world like the one that Hikari envisions. Along the way, though, Jinmei lost sight of that world. He lost the path. As a result, he met his fate at the hands of Mugen. Now, Rai-Mei is at risk of losing the path. A critical difference between Rai-Mei and Ritsu, though, is that Rai-Mei believes and acknowledges that the path exists. She just doubts her ability to follow that path through. When Hikari reminds her of the world he's trying to make, of the future he's trying to build, and then bests her in battle, Rai-Mei is redeemed, able to stand at Hikari's side in the final battle against Mugen. And it's in that final battle that all three themes, all three conflicts are brought to a conclusion, at least as far as Hikari's path is concerned, and they are resolved in dramatic fashion. As the second stage of Mugen's boss battle, Hikari must finally directly face the dark version of himself, using his path action to duel his dark self. These two beings, the Hikari that believes in friendship and humanity, and the Hikari that believes in strength and bloodshed, cannot exist together any longer, cannot be reconciled. During the course of this battle, Hikari's dark self takes possession of him, preventing him from acting. But it is the voice of Hikari's friends that saves him, that calls him back to himself and allows him to triumph over the darkness within. The third stage of the Mugen boss battle sees Mugen become the Enshrouded King. Hikari's humanity is contrasted against Mugen's literal inhumanity at this point. When the tainted blood of Clan Ku overtook Hikari after his mother's death, he spoke the words, "Quench the flames, call out to the night," which are the exact words Mugen speaks as the Enshrouded King. He succumbs to the darkness, to the inhumanity within. His adoration of strength over friendship meant that when the dark flames took possession of him, he had no way to resist. Hikari's path, then, is not so simple as it appears. Instead, it's a masterful weaving of story with theme, of illustrating theme with example and counterexample, and ultimately resolving the tension between countervailing ideologies. Hikari's themes recall the chivalric code and the ideals of the Arthurian era, with Hikari's journey from exile to king reflecting the ascendance of the notion that might does not make right, but rather that right makes might, that friendship and brotherhood are preferable to tyranny and hierarchy. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far and you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button to receive an honorary degree in Octopath Traveler 2 themes. If you didn't enjoy this video, leave a comment below detailing your ambitions to seize the Dark Blood Blade and subjugate Ku. Either way, I'll see you next time.
だが、そなたらの友だ。どうした？王冠取っちまったぞ。光殿。苦国は過ちを繰り返した。血塗られた歴史だ。